ExtremeHealthRadio.com.
This is Dr. Bradley Nelson, author of The Emotion Code, How to Release Your Trapped Emotions for Abundant Health, Love, and Happiness. You're listening to Justin and Kate on Extreme Health Radio. For more information about The Emotion Code, visit extremehealthradio.com/emotion code.
Well, Kate, we're back for another episode of Extreme Health Radio. I feel like it's been 5 or 6 weeks since we've been on the air, but
Well, it hasn't, but it sure does feel like it.
You got quite the singing voice there. I like
it. Thanks. A little embarrassing, but I've already put myself out there to the world. Why not put my ridiculous
free credit
jingle.
Report jingle? I love it. Today we have Dr. John Bergman in the studio, and he is our chiropractor, an amazing guy, and we're going to be talking to him about lots of different subjects, but mainly we want to cover this whole measles outbreak.
Measles, mumps, and rubella
if you want to call it an outbreak. But we're going to talk about that with him as well as take listener questions, so this is going to be really, really fun to have Dr. Bergman in studio. And for reference, today is... What's the date
January
today?
31st, 2015.
No, January 30th.
I'm sorry, 31st. 30th.
30th.
Oh my gosh, my computer's wrong. 30th.
30th it was.
My gosh.
And this is episode 358 of Extreme Health Radio. So what we're going to do is put all the show notes on extremehealthradio.com/358. And you can catch all the links and the different stuff that we talk about. We'll put all linked up on that particular show page. So extremehealthradio.com/358. I almost blanked out on that one.
We need to get back into doing this more often.
Oh, my goodness. I know. I'm out of my groove here. So today we have Dr. John Bergman, and he is an amazing person. He's been on our show a multitude of times. Let's see, on episode 342, 328, and I think this is his fourth show. There's another show that you were on. But thank you, Doctor, for being on the show and coming down today.
Oh, buddy, I'm so honored. We got to get this information out. You guys are just fun.
Oh, I love it. I love it. For people that don't know you, you were initially got involved in chiropractic care because you had an accident earlier on.
Yeah, it was thrust in. Yeah, I was walking across the street and I was hit by a car. So I had both my legs broken, my sternum fractured, skull fractured, heart, liver bruised, and I got a chance to see the medical aspect and also see what really is available to people who have severe trauma. And the medical doctors, after the first operation, I felt way better. After the second and third and fourth, I kept feeling less and less stable. Wow. And the medical doctors were saying, hey, look, we get a few more operations. Don't worry about it. A couple more years, you can have knee replacements. You'll be fine. Well, I went to the chiropractor and he said, no, man, your knees can regenerate. Your body is going to heal. And he said, do you ever cut yourself? I said, yeah, it heals, right? So he made more sense. And I found out that after that, I got into studying anatomy, physiology, pathology, and I realized that, oh my God, not just can meniscus heal, cartilage regenerate, bones heal, but your entire body, disease can be reversed. And then that was like a lightning bolt hitting me in the brain. Yeah. And now over the last 17 and a half years, I've put that in practice, and I've seen massive results in the worst horrible diseases and health conditions reverse.
Isn't it amazing?
Through basically very, very simple stuff, simple procedures.
So how many operations did you have?
4 knee operations.
For what was it? Did you have it torn all your tendons or your ligaments?
The first one, I shattered my right kneecap, and they had to grind in. When it healed funky. And then when I was hit by the car, it split my tibia down lengthways, and it healed funky. So they had to go in there and, their terminology, clean it up the torn tissue.
Yeah.
and after it's kept feeling less and less and less stable after the operations. And I realized, hey, wait a second, they're not putting anything in. They're taking stuff out.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, what happens? Doesn't your body have cells that can chew up abnormally placed proteins like torn meniscus, torn cartilage, bruises? Are bruises there forever? No. So I realized that you have part of your immune system cells called macrophages, and those things are designed to chew up abnormally placed tissue. So you don't need any outside influence to clean up a joint. Okay, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You stimulate your natural immune system, and you stimulate your natural nerve supply, blood supply, and your body does heal.
That's amazing. 4 surgeries on your knee, and how do you feel now? Good?
Oh, fantastic. It just came from the gym.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Proof's in the pudding.
And I did my exercises for my knees. Yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. And you're a big, you do a lot of deep sea diving or snorkeling and things, right?
Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah, I love diving. Yeah, it's a blast.
That's awesome. And you're going to be going to, I think, on a cruise pretty soon, right?
Yep, the February 21st through the 28th. I think there's still a few spots available. We're going to leave out of Florida, and we're going to hit St. Martin, St. Thomas, Puerto Rico, and we're going to be teaching when we're at sea.
Nice.
About 16 hours over the week. We've got a couple of guest speakers. Kit Campbell's coming up from Australia, and
yeah, Dr. DeWitt said there was someone else there's a few speakers.
Yeah, there's several speakers up there, and what's neat is we're going to talk about how the body actually works. Because people don't know what a liver is, or what a spleen does, or what a pancreas is. So basic anatomy and physiology, and then legendary. What disease is does disease actually exist? Or is it an adaptation an intelligent adaptation by the body given environmental stimulus like toxicity or deficiency? And when you find out that, you think, oh my God, we've been lied to, that disease doesn't actually exist, that it is a response. It's like I had a patient who had cardiac arrhythmias, okay? And she comes in and she says, yeah, my cardiologist says it's hereditary. And I said, okay. Do you know anyone else in your family that? Oh yeah, my sister and my second cousin had it too. And I said, okay, how many in your family don't have it? And she looked all confused. And I said, can you name 5 or 6 people that don't have cardiac arrhythmias? And then I said, well, it's not genetic. It's genetic expression.
Right.
So there's a huge misinformation there. And then we're also going to go over common medical procedures, like vaccinations and what, when medicine should be used and when it shouldn't be used, and also how to reverse disease. So it's going to be a fun cruise.
That's awesome. And it's for 10 days, I think? Is that right?
7 days.
7 days.
We leave Saturday, come back Saturday.
Oh my gosh. And this is the first in a series of possibly...
Yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. I want to do at least a couple of cruises a year, because
awesome.
And we've got a workbook that's just, oh my gosh.
That's so
I just finished it a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Can they get access, if people can't go on this one, they want to go on the next one? Is that on your website?
Yeah, it will be owners-guide.com.
Okay, that's awesome.
Owners-guide.com.
And I heard, are you going to be able to do some diving out there, I hope?
God, I hope so.
Yeah?
They've got this thing that looks like James Bond that pulls you through the water. I want to do that so bad.
I've seen that.
Yeah, I could hardly wait.
Promise us you'll get a video of this, please.
That
gosh,
would
yeah.
be cool.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
That would be cool. Wow, so people that want to take their health to another level could go and get immersed in this type of thing? Or is it type of thing where people that are really sick, what are the types of people do you think would be?
It's the people that we have signed up. Some have some serious health challenges. Others are looking for an optimal health, how to maintain it.
Okay.
And it's going to be just the whole gamut. It's going to be covering everything. But we're only going to be having classes like 2 to 3 hours a day. But we're also going to be hanging out in the morning. We're going to start the day off with the gym. So we'll go over workouts to regenerate joints. In the afternoon, evening, we're going to be hanging out at dinner and mealtime, and even on a ship, how you can eat healthy.
Okay.
And, just activities during the day. So it's going to be, we'll have the lecture, but by God, we're going to have fun.
I was wondering about that, because a lot of people probably have some dietary needs and issues, and so you can still go on a cruise and still be healthy and have a blast.
Can you do that if you're don't eat gluten or you have some sort of restrictions? I'm sure you could.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can do all that.
Oh, everything. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Do they have a juicer?
They don't know.
I wonder if they do.
Some people, I'm sure they're going to bring them.
I'm sure. They can't stop you from bringing a juicer.
I've never been on a big boat like this
haven't
before.
either.
So.
That's going to be awesome.
It'd be nice and warm out there with
Yep.
warm water. Oh,
Yep.
that's going to be fun.
Looking
Good
forward
stuff.
to it.
Oh, I'm jealous.
So I wanted to ask you a second ago, you were talking about the lady with cardiac arrhythmia, and before that you mentioned vaccines and things. How much do you think of issues, disease expression? What is the percentage? Because I've heard it's very nominal, the actual amount of disease or the actual potential of disease in your body, the genetics of it is really, really low, right?
You're looking at about 2%.
2% is actually genetic, and
disease.
that 2%, can that be changed as well?
Actually, yes.
Can it?
You can. I've seen, like Down syndrome is one of those diseases that has a genetic component. And I've seen patients with Down syndrome where they become not just more aware, but actually fully functioning. And it's amazing. There's one doc, he's a cranial specialist, brilliant chiropractor out of Canada, Dr. Turner, and he's worked with several Down syndrome patients, and you see massive, massive results. But really, it's the big difference between genetic and genetic expression is something that the public isn't aware of, and that it's parroted by the medical world that, oh, it's genetic. Do you have a family history of this? Do you have this? No, that's foolish. There was a project called the Human Genome Project.
Okay.
And it went on for 20 years, and the whole idea was to map the human genes. And now, since your body produces about 100,000 proteins, there must be 100,000 genes in your body. So if we can identify each different protein, like the protein for obesity, the protein for shopping too much, the protein for heart disease, the protein for lung cancer, that they can invent a drug to inhibit that protein.
My gosh.
The bummer is the project didn't work out really well. It turns out that we got a little bit more genes than a fruit fly, okay, in the 20,000 range.
Yeah.
So now it's like, holy moly, they started a new epigenetic genome project. So this means what causes a gene to be expressed or a gene to be suppressed. And now that is, God knows if they'll ever come along with that one. That should take hundreds of years. Because how many different factors of physical, chemical, or emotional stress, and your perception of that stress
play into
are going to
this,
change
right?
your expression of those proteins, of those genes. You know, it's like the immune system. You're talking 15 different types of cells in the immune system alone. And each one of those produces dozens and dozens of different molecules to communicate with each individual immune system cell.
Okay.
Inside of those cells, there's tens of thousands of genes that are going to produce specific proteins given the stimulus. We don't really know how the immune system works. I mean, figure the way most people measure the immune system is through antibodies. And we know that the antibody production, or the antibody theory, because it was a theory, that if you had more antibodies against a certain disease that you're protected, if you had less antibodies to a disease, you were more at risk. We know that's totally not true. I mean, there were studies done back, and I'm talking way back in 1974, that they took a group of children that had this certain condition called agammaglobulinemia.
Wow.
Okay,
Try saying that
what the
3
heck is
times.
that?
Oh, I just hurt my tongue. But what's cool is these kids, they couldn't produce antibodies.
Wow.
And so they exposed them or they got measles, and they found out they recovered just as fast with the same resolution, with the same lifetime protection as kids that had antibody production.
Isn't that interesting?
And we know that through multiple studies that the level of antibodies doesn't denote a protection, but it's still utilized in the medical world as gospel. You know,
Because they just don't want to let go of that theory, right?
well, there's no really other tests that they have to see if a vaccine or medication is effective. There's nothing other than checking for the antibodies. And so if you inject somebody with, say, influenza virus, then they're going to see how many antibodies or what kind of antibodies your body produces. Then they could say, hey, look, this vaccine is effective in producing antibodies.
But that's where the buck sort of stops.
Yeah, they're not going to inject some people with a saline solution, some people with a vaccine, and then take a bucket of virus and pour it over their heads and see which ones get sick.
Yeah, what a weird thing.
Real quick, what was causing that in the first place? Like, what caused that situation with those kids? Like,
it's a genetic variant.
Just a genetic variant.
And
Interesting.
And what's cool is if you look at the different genetic variants around, take sickle cell anemia. Okay, it affects people originally in areas where malaria was present.
Okay.
And so you get this parasite, this mosquito that goes in there and bites you, and it can contain the malaria virus. And if you have sickle cell anemia, you're not going to get malaria.
Interesting.
Because the virus won't take hold because your cells are different. Oh. So there's so many environmental adaptations.
Yeah.
Heck, man, we move up to Colorado. Our red blood cell production is going to be huge. You're going to be producing more erythropoietin. You're going to get, because we're in a lower oxygen environment.
Right.
And if we move back down here to San Clemente, you're going to adapt. So there's all different types of genetic variants and expressions depending on the environment.
And depending on, I know you've done a lot of talks on your, if anyone's interested and you want to hear Dr. Bergman, I think you've done over 400 talks on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think we're almost 500.
And I was going to say, you've done a lot of
Lord.
talks on mindset, right? Where your stress and your mindset really play a role.
Yeah, I was just going to say, no matter where you live or what you do, I was going to say, isn't it mostly up here?
Well, everything starts in the brain.
In the brain.
Because you figured the way the brain is wired, and there is a plasticity to the brain, so you can change the wiring of the brain. So your perception of what happens has a massive change in what your body is going to express. And I use the analogy a lot of baking bread. If you smell baked bread, you're going to think of grandma. Right now, I know the listeners are thinking of the smell of baked bread.
Right.
And they're producing just beautiful, benzodiazepams. They're producing these joyous molecules.
Right.
Okay. And their immune system is strengthened. However, if they were hit by a Helms bakery truck when they were 7, okay.
A little different.
You say baked bread, it's like, oh my gosh, no. Okay, you're going to have, so it's just the thought or perception of a past experience is going to produce a radically different chemical response. Now, you can change the way your brain's wired, okay, through repetition. And this is where disease reversal has to start, because most people have been convinced that their body is defective. They caught the disease from bad luck or bad genes or something. It's not their fault.
Right.
Okay?
Something happened to you.
Yeah. So we got this victim mentality that you have to overcome first, and then you can start working on healing the body. So you're absolutely right. It does begin in the mind.
So a person, I'm sure you've seen patients all the time who are doing everything by the book, dietary, environmentally, all this stuff, but it needs to change upstairs in the brain, or it probably keeps a lot of people from healing, even getting close to really healing.
Absolutely.
That's frightening.
In every book I've written so far, there's always a section in there on mindset. Because if you don't believe it's possible, or if you believe that you created this disease, because you can literally think disease and you can think it away. Because the way that your brain works, you figure emotions are chemicals produced by how the brain is wired. And if you change the emotional assault, you're changing the chemical assault that your brain has given your body. And so since your brain can produce stress chemicals, which keeps you alive in short term, but it does weaken your immune system, the brain can also produce chemicals that cause your parasympathetic or your rest, digest, and repair nervous system, part of your automatic function to regenerate and renew tissue and eliminate any type of pathogen that you may be exposed to.
It's amazing. How does this translate to the measles and the vaccines and people getting the yearly flu? And you were saying before the show, the measles is sort of a every 2 years it sort of comes around?
Well, I think it's just clear that we stay away from Disneyland.
Yeah, that's obvious.
That's a solution.
Obvious. I do that anyway.
Yeah, you do.
No, when you look at the measles, it's cyclical. It's been cyclical every 2 to 3 years. There's always a perceived epidemic. I mean, the last one involved like 120 people, I think, in New York. And,
I don't even remember that.
It's the memory is going to be really short because we're so like present time usually.
Right.
And what's wild is the entire fear based, and this is how vaccines have been sold since the day one. And when you look at when vaccines were first brought on the market, okay, and we're talking ancient China, the first vaccines that I could ever find a record of would be they'd scrape the pus out of a smallpox sore, they would dry the pus, and then you would snort the pus. Okay. Now, but when you think about it, okay, what's that doing? You're getting some of the proteins from the virus. Okay, you're also getting some of the proteins from the person. You're getting their immune system responses. You may be getting, if the person has tuberculosis or some other type of disease or syphilis, gonorrhea, or some other type of disease, that may also be in the pus and the lymph. Okay, so you're snorting this into your body. And they think it had some type of protective effect, which is okay because you're getting it in your mucous membranes, okay, and your body's going to recognize it, and that's a normal transmission. So that would make sense.
Yeah.
It's not a real purified form. But then this guy named Jenner came up with this theory that if you got smallpox or if you got cowpox, and this is a legend, okay, of how vaccines started. And the urban legend was that milkmaids, if they got cowpox, they were protected from smallpox. Okay, well that's where like vaca means cow.
Yeah.
And that's the whole vaccination. So it's a vaca nation. So you're doing a procedure using cows. Okay. Wow. So Now there was a lot of controversy, okay, when this first came out because Jenner would scrape the pus out of a cow, out of an infected person, scrape the arm of, I think it was a 9-year-old neighbor kid, and then rub the pus in there, and then and the kid would get sick and then recovered. So all of a sudden, the medical world, and this is why he was hailed as a hero, has this new procedure to take healthy people, do something to healthy people, and possibly protect them from the disease. Okay, now the problem is the cowpox isn't smallpox.
That's
one of the main problems.
Yeah, number one.
The second problem is they started to harvest the pus from dead people and utilize that as the vaccine. Okay, and of course, you can imagine you're transferring a lot of different diseases. This is why when they moved the smallpox over to Hawaii and they vaccinated the natives, there was a massive rise in Hansen's disease or leprosy. When you look at the vaccination of the Philippines and Japan, and I'm talking in the 1800s, there was virtually little to no cases of smallpox after the vaccine, massive rises of smallpox, and that has been throughout history where you spread a fear, you vaccinate, you see a rise in disease, you spread more fear, oh no, we just didn't get there in time or do it enough, let's do more.
Right.
And so if you look at the history of vaccinations, and Dr. Susan Humphreys wrote a brilliant book on the history of vaccines.
Oh, really?
And it's amazing when you see how the low incident of the disease rate, the progress of the vaccines, and the fear generated by it.
Yes, that's the big thing is the fear.
It's oh my God, Lord Byron, who's probably one of my favorite poets ever.
Yeah,
I mean, if you want the king of love, it ain't Barry White. Okay? Lord Byron was sent to investigate some of the smallpox things, and he said, well, it was renamed. If a person got a vaccine, okay, and they had the vaccine scar, and they developed smallpox, they renamed it. They called it multiple vesicle lesion syndrome.
Wow.
Because obviously, if you got the vaccine, you must be protected.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It must be evil spirits or influences.
Right.
It's like the measles panic now. when you look at the actual decline of the measles, when the vaccine was first introduced, it was already down well over 90%. But that was from sanitation, and it was actually a very benign disease. What's interesting is there's certain benefits to childhood diseases.
That's what people don't talk about. That's a big issue. That's huge for the strengthening of our immune system.
Oh, right.
For people to actually get sick, right? And overcome it.
I mean, I've got a third of my practice is under 12. They're kids.
Oh.
And they're cool because the parents are educated, okay? And when the kid comes down with a flu, I tell them, okay, good, let's work with the flu. We're going to give them vitamin D, vitamin C, put them in hot baths to elevate the fever, hydrate them, and hopefully, your child develops 7 viral infections by the time they're 7.
Okay.
Because this way, each one strengthens the immune system. This is why when you see kids running around with snotty noses, they're getting constant different exposures to different viruses, funguses, and bacteria. They're recognizing those foreign proteins, they're mounting defenses, and this is what strengthens their immune system.
So you want your kids to go through these things in order to have that real strong, robust immune system for later on in life. So when we keep putting our children sort of in the bubble, I always think about that story, the kid in the bubble.
Boy in the bubble.
The boy in the bubble from the 80s. But that's essentially our society is moving further and further into that sort of realm where it's antibacterial this and that, where there's no bacteria, there's nothing that we're ever exposed to. And as a culture, we're getting weaker, aren't we?
Oh, huge.
We are, right?
We're seeing a massive rise. I mean, autoimmune diseases before 1940 were incredibly rare.
Wow.
Now it's the 4th leading cause of death. Okay, the autoimmune disorders. We're seeing a sickening of the population. I mean, I just had a patient, and this is the ultimate tragedy. I love this guy. He was super sweet. He was in his late 70s. He cut himself at home on a mirror. And of course, he went to the medical and just cut his hand. And they put, of course, antibiotic cream on there. And at the hospital, he developed a superbug, a super infection. And this is why, doing the hygiene hypothesis where you keep it getting cleaner and cleaner and cleaner and cleaner, he developed a flesh-eating virus. Okay, they amputated his arm from this. And then within 2 weeks, he was dead from this, this infection that they couldn't solve with antibiotics.
Wow, was that that flesh-eating, what do they call that? What's the name of that?
Oh, there's so many different ones now. I mean, the most popular one is
that
MRSA.
Yeah, that's right.
Multibiotic-resistant staph infection.
Staph, yeah.
But what they don't tell you is you've got staph epididymis on your skin right now, which protects you from the pathologic staph. Except when you do antibiotic creams, it's not specific to the bad ones and helps the good ones.
Right. Wow.
It just doesn't make sense. It's like when you look at the measles panic at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Remember, the theory is you get a bit of the disease, and this is all vaccine, the total vaccine theory. They're going to introduce it in your body somehow, and you recognize that, and you build a defense to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's the whole theory right there in a nutshell. Does it make you less of a carrier? No.
It wouldn't have anything to do with that.
It wouldn't have anything to do with it. It's hopefully going to allow you to mount an earlier defense. Does it make you less infectious? I mean, does it protect those people around you? None of that stuff makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so when ignorant vaccine pundits, they call it an immunization. Does it make you immune? No, there's never been a vaccine that showed lifetime immunity. So to talk about immunizations and vaccinations in the same breath, that's foolish.
What about the people who say you get it to a lesser degree, or it takes the bite out of the
or maybe
disease.
You're sick, or people will say, normally if I get the flu or measles,
it lasts for 8 days, and now it lasts 2.
And then it only lasts for 2 days.
Is there any validity?
None, really, because when you look at the flu vaccine itself, you're talking the actual influenza infection rate, is less than 5%. You've got so many other different viruses, and there is no such thing as a flu season. Influenza, Coxsackie virus, all these viruses are around us all year long. Okay, but there is a vitamin D deficiency season.
Yes.
And so when you compare the effectiveness of a flu vaccine versus the effectiveness of vitamin D supplements, it's not even fair. You know, it's like the 400-pound gorilla. When you look at on the flu vaccine itself, it says never been shown to be protective against the flu. Okay, we know there's hundreds of different types of viruses. And now this is the third year now they're growing it in neoplastic cell growth medium.
Okay.
And this is just the flu shot. Okay. They used to grow them in chicken eggs. And what that means is you would take a living chicken egg, not the kind that you'd eat. This actually has a live embryo in it.
Yeah, I've heard about
You'd poke a hole in it, you know, drop a couple of the viruses just at random. You just got to pick some and then allow it to fester. And then you'd centrifuge it out. Okay, try and get rid of most of the... of course, you can't get rid of all the chicken proteins.
Right.
Because the viruses actually bind to that because you can't separate and isolate the virus. So the initial exposure of that chicken, you're not putting a virus in there. Okay, you're putting infected tissue that has the virus.
Okay.
So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So
now, if we can get the rest of the world to jump on board.
Except that's expensive because you got all these eggs and everything else. So now they're growing it in neoplastic cell growth medium, which means neoplastic is cancer cells.
Okay.
Well, cancer cells, they're an immortal cell line of kidney cells, or dog kidney cells, monkey kidney cells, aborted human fetal tissue, and caterpillar larvae.
What do you mean? That's what's in most cancer cells?
No.
Or are you saying that's what's in?
This is the growth medium for the new flu shot.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
So you've got a vat of monkey kidney cells. Then next to that, you've got a vat of dog kidney cells. Then you've got a vat of aborted human fetal cells. Then you've got a vat of caterpillar larvae. And then you put infected tissue in there, and that virus, that infected tissue, replicates, so you have a more consistent product.
I wonder how they came up with those.
I was going to say, how are they tested them on so many different things, and those were the four?
Oh, it's in the lab. Yeah, it's in the lab. You see where a virus propagates best.
Oh, okay. And then it's in the kidney tissue of these different animals.
Yeah, so it's fantastic.
Could it have ever been plant-based? I mean, could that even be feasible?
Well, you need to have something that the virus will grow in. And plants are way smarter. Plants have been exposed to viruses, funguses, and bacteria. And this is why plants have different colors, different textures. This is why a blueberry is blue, why a bell pepper could be red, yellow, or green. Those are the defenses that thing's developed over eons to defend itself against viruses. So not really. You
Interesting.
In fact, you can't really infect a healthy human with a virus. This is why in the experiments using rats and no, I don't think they're using attorneys anymore. But when they're using rats, they have to weaken the immune system of rats. Okay, in order. And my niece and brother-in-law are attorneys, so I just love them.
You like taking a little digs at
I love them to death. My apologies to anyone that might take offense to my sick humor. But you have to weaken the immune system of the animal that you're experimenting, whether it's a rat or a rabbit or something, in order to test the vaccines. So you can't infect a healthy animal.
This is fascinating. We're going to take a little break right now, but I want to ask you to talk a little bit about, after the break, this whole idea of injecting into the muscle, because we talked about this before the show. And what most people don't realize is that's a big deal, because whenever we eat or take in toxins or poisons or anything that our body does not like, we have the buffering compounds of the liver, of the small intestine, the colon, and all these different organs to help process that. And so maybe after the break we can talk a little bit about what that really means when we're injecting something into the bloodstream. It's kind of a big deal, right?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of, a little bit.
Huge.
And we got some amazing chat room questions for the end of the show.
Yeah. Do you want to do the chat room questions sort of near the end?
Yep. Sounds good. We'll rapid fire them.
Okay, awesome. All right, this is episode number 358 of Extreme Health Radio. We appreciate all you guys being in the live chat room. Typically, we do shows live on Friday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And if you want to join the chat room, make some friends, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/live at 9 a.m. Pacific on Friday morning to join the show. So we have lots of great guests and a really great time at 9 a.m. Pacific every week. So join us there, and we'll be right back right after this break. Did you know that conventional dog food contains antibiotics, herbicides, pesticides, ground up carcasses from roadkill subjected to high heat processing, artificial colors, chemical preservatives, way too many carbohydrates, genetically modified corn syrups, indigestible grains, and a lack of moisture content in the dry kibble? Obviously, this can lead to health conditions like diabetes, itchy skin, teeth and gum problems, liver damage, obesity, behavioral issues, pancreatic problems, and even cancer. That's why we recommend the BARF diet, which is the biologically appropriate raw food diet from Barf World. Their unprocessed raw meats contain bone, organ meats, vitamins, and minerals that are loaded with enzymes. Barf World founder Robert Mueller explains more.
Sure, I don't have to convince you on the damage that's caused by high heat to food. So as a result, we see many skin disorders, a lot of arthritis, obesity, heart disease, cancers. I mean, it's just rampant. The vet clinics are just full of these conditions. And basically a large percentage of the commercial pet food that's made up of the human industry leftovers. And the pet food industry makes use of this waste product. And in addition to that, we are subjected to the products coming out of the rendering plants. Garbage in, garbage out. If you feed garbage to your dog, you're going to end up with garbage health. You know, if you put the right gas in, your engine runs smoother and lasts longer. So if you put the right fuel in the tank, you're going to get the right output. Garbage in, garbage out.
We've seen an immense difference with our dog Maggie being on this diet. Give your dog the gift of health today by going to extremehealthradio.com/barf or go to our store. That's extremehealthradio.com/barf to learn even more.
I have to say, I have been absolutely loving this product by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar called Good Morning, Good Evening Qigong. If you want to listen to the interview we did with Tristan, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/127. And Qigong is a great way to de-stress the body. And as you know, there's a huge component to disease caused by stress. And stress is a huge factor in how we live our lives and the amount of energy we have and the amount of vitality we have. And so, Dr. Shade, what do you think about Qigong?
People come to me and they're really sick and they got this blown out neurological system and all this toxicity. And I tell them, you need to do Qigong, Tai Chi. You need to do these things that settle down and restore your neurology, because it puts together all the parts. It puts you back into that state where you can start to detoxify. And so I highly, highly recommend all that.
And what about you, Kit Campbell? What do you think about Qigong? Do you like it as well?
Qigong is amazing. And the reason that I believe it to be amazing is everything here is energy. That is a scientific fact, if there ever is one. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually drawing energy into your body. Your intention, whatever your intention is behind any action, will determine the level of energy, type of energy that you absorb into your body. So your intention behind is very important, just like thought. So when you're practicing Qigong, you're actually bringing energy in and you're bringing out the stuff that might be a bit stale. With Tai Chi, it's totally different. The energy runs underneath the skin because it's more of a martial. This is the Chinese understanding, by the way. It's more of a martial art. So Qigong is very, very good for bringing that energy into the body, and just fantastic.
If you're interested in picking up this Qigong course by Tristan Truscott and Peter Ragnar, go to extremehealthradio.com/Qigong. That's QIGONG. And you can learn more about it. There's a great video on that page, and you can learn more about it on that page. And I highly, highly recommend this product. I love it myself, so go ahead and check that out. extremehealthradio.com/Qigong.
Listener supported. Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Don't forget to join our thriving community for health tips, inspiration, and show updates at extremehealthradio.com/Facebook.
Gosh, we're just talking about all of Dr. Bergman's upcoming travels here.
The life of Dr. Bergman.
My goodness. I took a trip around the world in 2002, but never made it up to Alaska. That sounds like a real fun place.
I can hardly wait to go.
Oh, my goodness. Wow, so much fun.
Holy moly.
I wanted to let everyone know, too, that if you are interested or just joining us on the podcast or on the live show, that Dr. Bergman and friends are going to be putting on a really great cruise. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, but if you're still interested, I think there's a couple spots still available, you said?
Yep. And they can get there from Owner's-Guide or just, I think there's like 3 or 4 different websites they can go to.
Okay, awesome. They can sign up and be a part of that.
I'll put a link to that in the chat.
Yep.
How fun. Golly.
We leave in 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But who's counting?
Not me.
That's going to be so much fun. So I wanted to just touch on this briefly because I think a lot of people that don't know about vaccinations and the idea of sticking a needle into your bloodstream was something that the body was never really designed to have to go through, right? This is a new thing.
It's a completely different way to get exposed to a virus or bacteria or pathogen.
It's a big deal.
It's supposed to be through the nose or through the mouth. So you're missing the normal immune system response, because normally you get exposed to a virus through the nose, through the mouth, through the gut, and your body has the cellular and humoral immune systems that recognize it, wall it off, build defenses, and eliminate it.
Right.
And getting it injected in a muscle is a completely pathologic. And you'll get vaccine pundits that are ignorant that say, well, there's so little mercury in a flu shot and there's so much in a can of tuna fish. Hey, you're not injecting the tuna fish. Okay.
Right.
There's a difference in walling off and eliminating toxins in your digestive tract as opposed to eliminating it out of your muscle tissue.
Yeah, because essentially your body has to mount this insane white blood cell immune system response because it's getting all this toxicity into the bloodstream where typically everything has to go through the colon wall, the bacteria, has to get through all the stomach acid and all this stuff to get even to your bloodstream. But when you inject it right in there, I mean, we read something a while back. I mean, Kate has peanut allergies to the aflatoxin, I think it is. And we read an article.
But not for long, because I'm determined to get over this.
Series of articles and kind of related that to vaccinations as a child.
It is. Most vaccines are suspended in certain types of oils. Peanut oil is one of them. And there's a brilliant TED Talk by Robin Bryan. I think it's Bryn. And she talks about how her kids almost died from eating, just regular manufactured foods. And she thought, well, this is weird. When did food become poisonous?
Yeah, when was that?
Okay, and it turns out that the more foreign proteins that we're injecting into these kids in our bodies, and that's what a vaccine is, the more the body is recognizing these foreign proteins as pathogens.
Okay.
And if you're injecting peanut oil, you're going to build antibodies towards that, and your immune system responses towards those peanut proteins. And if you eat something like that, it's going to think, oh my God, here's an assault. We've got to go crazy for it. I mean, figure 20 years ago, schools didn't have EpiPens.
No, right? Or peanut-free lunch zones, tables.
Or gluten-free areas. I mean, if you look at the massive degradation of the human health now from these practices, take Andrew Wakefield, back in 1998. Here he is. He's a researcher, doctor. He finds a group of autistic kids that have bowel issues. And typically in autistic kids, they do have some type of bowel issue. Well, he goes in there and he biopsies the bowel and he says, wow, there's the measles virus here. Let's check it and see if healthy kids have the measles virus in there. So he biopsies them and doesn't find it. And so he says maybe there's a correlation between the gut issue and autism. And so they published the paper, they fund the paper. He never said the vaccine causes autism.
Never said that.
Never said that. Okay. And he wrote a brilliant book called Callous Disregard. And you have all of these people putting words in him, in his mouth, and he's going, look, this is ridiculous. And it is callous disregard, because if some medical procedure is causing us to lose 1 in 38 boys, to a lifetime disease of autism, then we should rethink our practices. But it's the way science is, or supposed to be, is if you disagree with his findings, you go in, do the biopsy yourself, check his research, and then you say, no, his conclusions were invalid. That's not what's done. Now we insult him. You're going to cause a massive epidemics. You're going to have people question vaccines. You're evil. You're bad. Let's crucify him. Okay. But that's not how it's supposed to be done in a world of science. In a world of science, we're supposed to take your conclusions, see how you came up with those conclusions, and alter it. I mean, we've known in the Journal of the American Medical Association, this is 4 years after the measles vaccine was introduced, they found that it causes encephalitis, swelling of the brain. Okay. And they recommend not using this type. So there's been like 4 or 5 different types of measles vaccines. And then they developed the measles, mumps, and rubella, or the MMR.
Yeah.
And then they're not testing the measles, mumps, and rubella with the DPT, with the HIB, with the Prevnar, with the rotavirus, with the influenza. They're not testing this except one time in 2008.
So what do you mean they weren't testing?
They don't test it in animals. They don't test it in humans. They're doing post-marketing surveillance. But since most vaccine studies are done no longer in like 40, 42 days, if you develop a mild reaction, it's not even listed. And so in the early 90s, they developed a thing called the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS. Wow. Now, this is if you suspect that your child, was damaged by a vaccine, or you're a physician and you're vaccinating a bunch of kids and you see a common reaction, you report that to this government agency and they control the data. And you can go on the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, VAERS, and you can look at the damage that's suspected done. The problem is they say less than 10% of the actual incidents are reported because it's not correlated with the vaccine. It's not correlated. The old thing is correlation doesn't. It doesn't guarantee causation.
Right, right. There's got to be a causative factor. The correlation is just that's all it is.
Yeah, eventually you figure by 2023 that's going to, because they're saying that the reason we have rises in autism is we're just better at diagnosing it. Just put your head in the sand. When I was a kid, they had one small bus that would go to a bunch of different schools and pick up the special needs kids and bring them. Now every school's got a special needs class.
The buses are 4 times as long.
Oh, yeah. By 2023, the number of autistic kids will outnumber the kids without autism.
2023. So
I've heard this.
Yeah. So it's going to be. I mean, we're done. We've lost a generation. The tough part is when you look at it, it's not necessary. In 2008, at the University of Pittsburgh, they did a study. Okay, and the study was done on monkeys. And one of my patients was actually involved in the study, and he acquired some of the vaccines for the study.
Oh, really?
And so they took these little monkeys, injected them at 12 hours with hepatitis B, scaled down dosage for the monkey size, and then within the 1 month, the 2 months, the 4 months, the 8 months, the 18 months, for the 18 months they would inject them with the the Prevnar, the MMR, all the different, the DPTs, the polio, everything, up to that stage. And what's interesting, 100% of the monkeys developed antisocial behavior. 100% of the monkeys developed bowel problems where they couldn't eat the standard monkey chow. And the whole thing was designed to check to see if there was damage of the brain. So when they finished the study, they harvested the brain of these animals, and 100% of them had brain damage, particularly in the amygdala.
Really?
So now this is the only study. Now it was published in a major journal, stayed in there for about a month, and then was pulled. Because Dr. Laura Hewitson, who arranged the study out of the University of Pittsburgh, she has an autistic son or autistic child. I think it's a boy.
What's her last name again?
Hewitson.
Hewitson.
And what's interesting is they said, and she knew that they were going to come after her, because anytime you do a scientific experiment to question vaccines, you're going to be crucified. So she completely separated herself from the data collection because she knew they were going to come after her. Okay, and of course they pulled the study. So when the medical establishment is saying, "Look, we've studied it," no, you really haven't.
Right.
Okay, and any studies are actually buried. We know that in 1967, the Journal of the American Medical Association said that the measles vaccine can cause encephalitis.
1967.
We know on the measles, mumps, and rubella shot now, on the effects of it, it says it can cause swelling of the brain, Guillain-Barré, which is paralysis. It can cause all these host of immune system problems. And we know, according to the VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System, that's only been around since the early 90s, and only 10% at most of the adverse events, according to them, on just the MMR shot, there's over 85,000 different occurrences of trauma from the shot. Now, if that's only 10%, we're talking about 1 million incidences that have been recognized. Okay, so we're not, and this is just, now what is the actual incident of disease?
Okay, right.
Okay, now
good question.
There was a brilliant journal article, and this is out of the American Journal of Epidemiology, 1984. And what they did is they found out that before the measles vaccine was introduced, that it affected about 10.3% of the susceptible population.
Susceptible, 10.3.
10.3% of the susceptible population. When I say susceptible, I mean kids that have never been exposed to it.
Okay.
And they said it was so low because we had a massive adult population that got the benign measles virus and recovered from it. And of course, you're going to see the vaccine pundits, oh no, thousands of kids die from the measles. And they're right. They do, but they do it in countries where the kids are deficient in nutrients. We've known since 1922 that vitamin A can knock out measles. We've known since the 90s that vitamin C can knock out measles. Heck, there was one study on vitamin C, and I think it was in the early 90s, that showed that with sufficient amounts of vitamin C, if you have full-blown measles, you can recover within about 48 hours. Using vitamin C.
Do you remember how much that was for people?
I think it was 1,000 milligrams. And they tried a bunch of different things. It's a really cool study. They tried IV vitamin C. They tried intramuscular vitamin C. They tried oral vitamin C. And it turned out that I think it was 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every 2 hours for 12 hours.
Okay.
And they also did the study in 1922 on vitamin A, where if a person had measles, they would give vitamin A to the entire family. And it protected the spread of measles.
Oh my gosh.
It reduced the spread.
Are you talking high dose vitamin A like you would with this?
No, not mega doses, just regular.
Continually.
And so there's benefits from it. It just doesn't make any sense.
I think what we need to do as a culture is look more into why that we need to constantly be propped up with vaccinations and pharmaceutical medications. Why do we continually need to be propped up by these things? Well, that's the real question.
Either the human body is incredibly defective, or there's a profit motive.
Yeah, there's only two options. Right?
I'm thinking.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know, man. I see a lot of people heal rapidly.
Yeah, you do.
Okay, I got to tell you about the American Journal of Epidemiology study. Okay, 1984. Okay, I got to go back to that because this one is totally freaking cool.
1984.
Okay, American Journal of Epidemiology. When they studied before the vaccine was introduced, 10.3% of the susceptible population.
Okay.
Immediately after the vaccine was introduced, it went down to 3.6. So it didn't protect everybody, but it reduced it from 10.3 to 3.6. So about a 7%
That's large.
drop.
Yeah.
Now, every year that we've been vaccinating, the rise of epidemics have been 0.1%.
Since 84.
1/10 of 1%.
So it's consistently rising, even though vaccine rates are rising, because where the vaccine doesn't give lifetime immunity, and it does have certain negative effects on the body. We know this. It's all documented.
And the body's becoming more resistant too, right?
Well, I don't know if it's becoming more resistant because we don't know the effects of a vaccine given to a child who becomes a parent, who gives birth to a child that gets more vaccines,
That's
who
right.
grows up, gives another. We've never seen generational massive vaccine assault on long-term immune systems. But what they said in that article is that since it does rise, the measles rates do rise consistently 1/10 of 1%, that by 2050 we'll reach the pre-vaccine level of measles epidemics, and it'll be unstoppable. And so they saying in the article that we really need to modify the healthcare policy for this eventuality. Okay, now that is like, oh my God. But now wait a second, this is 1984.
Yeah.
In 1986, all the vaccine companies, okay, if the vaccine is put on the schedule, okay, of scheduled recommended vaccines, they're completely immune from any negative responses or any lawsuits. They have virtual complete immunity. And so any kid that's damaged by a vaccine, it's paid for by the government and our taxes. So they have complete immunity. But then that, remember, 84 the study was done. 86 is when they passed that law that the people that inject your kid with vaccines and the vaccine manufacturers are complete total immunity if the vaccine is put on the vaccine schedule. In 86, from 84 to 86, the vaccines went from 10 vaccines per kid to 36 vaccines per kid.
Oh my gosh.
And then in the early 90s, it jumped up again.
It jumped up again.
Yeah.
And so this study in 84 was based on just those 10 vaccines, not on the 84 that they're getting.
That's
Okay,
amazing.
not on the 36 they got in 86, not on the 84 they're getting now. So now we're going to see. So I mean, this is all the answer of what happened at Disneyland.
Yeah.
That is the tip of the iceberg. We're going to see more and more and more vaccine epidemics, measles epidemics. And just like they did back in the smallpox, it's designed to generate a panic. And who are they blaming? They're blaming the unvaccinated.
That's part of the problem in this particular instance is that they're talking about all the unvaccinated children at Disneyland are somehow passing.
We read one on our last free-for-all. They're not worried about the, the blame's always going to them.
But think about it.
But their vaccinated kids are supposedly safe, so why are they even worried?
Safe.
They're supposed to be.
None of that
It's
stuff.
asinine.
It's based on a complete false pseudoscience of herd immunity, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Absolutely.
And so the non-vaccinated are not more of a carrier than the vaccinated, so that's absolute fact. And it's just designed to generate, and again, you got two choices. Is there a financial motive to generate panic? Or is it based in science? Okay, and it's totally financial.
Yeah.
This is 90% of the average pediatrician's business. But when you're looking, is the vaccine, the Well Baby program, but the infrastructure for the vaccines is so huge. We're talking billions and billions of dollars in an industry that's immune from prosecution. And any damage to it, they go to, any kids that are damaged, they can't go to a regular court.
There's no repercussion, or there's no ability to get a remedy.
None. If a parent is suspecting an injury from the vaccine, they have to go to, it's called vaccine court, but it's not the vaccine court. It's not a court. They don't even have a judge. You can't bring attorneys. You can't bring evidence. Okay. Wow. In this thing, it's judged by a special master. I love the title.
They call it vaccine courts? Is that what they
It's not. The public calls it vaccine courts, but it's governed by a special master.
I picture the Emperor from Star Wars just in a room.
I know.
I've always wanted to be called a special master. See, I dream of genie fantasy.
Yeah, right? What does the special master do? This is a joke.
They determine whether the kid was damaged with vaccines. And there have been dozens and dozens of cases. I mean, Italian courts and American courts that say, yes, this kid developed autism from the vaccine, but because they were different kids. Okay, they had a mitochondrial dysfunction. They had this kind of thing.
There's a million ways for them
They had
to
blue eyes.
slip out of it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, but none of this stuff is actual based in science.
Yeah.
No one's going back in and doing the monkey study. They're not doing any monkey studies. They're not doing any research on the multiple different things inside of a vaccine. They're not researching the aluminum, the polysorbate 80, the antibiotics, the different foreign proteins. None of this stuff is being studied.
So they're not even studying those substances on an isolated level, but they're not studying also the way those different substances react to each other.
Exactly.
There's two different things they're avoiding.
And then expand it out. That's just in one shot.
Yeah.
You know, what about the multiple shots that the kid's getting? And what about the health of the kid? Do they do this medical procedure, a vaccine, and then check the kid's blood for antibodies to see if he developed some type of immune system response?
Of course not.
They just give the vaccines and that's it.
No
right?
follow-up.
Yeah.
No.
And we've known
monitoring
since the mid-'80s, there's a thing called molecular mimicry. Okay, and this is from vaccines. We've known this. And that when you shoot somebody with a foreign protein and immune system adjuvants, okay, like the aluminum and, you know, the polysorbate 80, I mean, all the ingredients in a vaccine, that if the virus, that the body is going to mount a defense against it, but if there's no virus for it to attack or no pathogen, that the body can actually mimic in those pathogens, because you got these warriors called antibodies that are supposed to go in there, recognize damaged tissue or a foreign invader, attack it, kill it, and then they commit suicide. Well, this molecular mimicry, if it recognizes the pancreas has a pathogen, kid's going to develop diabetes. Why do we have a massive rise in diabetes? If the pathogen or the recognizes the brain has a problem, because we don't know if the measles, mumps, and rubella crosses the blood-brain barrier. We don't know if it crosses the liver. We don't know.
Doctors don't even know that?
Nobody does.
If it goes passes the blood-brain?
Nobody does. We know that it's associated with encephalitis. We don't know how it does.
Don't know why.
We don't know if that muscular injection, if it's the immune system crossing it, it's just not going to be researched. And if you question it, you're going to be crucified. Just like Andrew Wakefield. You got to look at the real courageous doctors, the Dr. Susan Humphreys, the Dr. Sherry Tenpennies, the Dr. Tim O'Shea's. I mean, the brilliant ones, the ones that are doing the research. And when you look at them, what they do, they make a statement, put a reference, make a statement, put a reference. You look at these wacko vaccine pundits, they're using not even pseudoscience. They're just using fear-based stuff, saying you foolish non-vaccinators, you need to arrest the parents and force this medical procedure on everyone, whether they want it or not, because it's for their own good.
Of course.
Well, didn't the Nazis do that?
Well, we don't
know. Did they force medical procedures on people without their consent?
Turns out, I think that's right.
Do we have sovereignty over our own body?
We ought to, but we don't.
Should we? Because, I mean, this is like a medical raping of our public. Okay, I mean, we used to have 3 exemptions in California for vaccines. We would have a medical reason, a personal beliefs, and a religious. Last year, they took away the personal beliefs, kinda. Okay, which now, because obviously you're not an sentient being that can be educated on yourself and do your own research. Right. You're not smart enough to do this.
You can't know this. Yeah.
You have to go to a medical professional, and in order to sign the personal beliefs exemption off, and they're going to educate you. So that means you got to pay for a visit. Okay. And if after they've educated you, because obviously you're ignorant on vaccines and they're really, really smart,
right.
Then they may sign off. It's up to them. Okay. What most people don't know, and this is in California, that the school nurse can also sign off. So when you go up to the school, you want to get your unvaccinated kid in the school, just say, give me the exemption. They'll say, no, get the school nurse out here. We'll sign it. And think of this, what they say on the bottom of the exemption, if there's an epidemic, your child will be taken out of school because they're not vaccinated.
Okay.
Does vaccinating a child prevent an epidemic? Or does it just affect that kid? So none of it's based in real, actual hard science and hard data.
Does the school nurse have the option of not signing it if she says, no, I think vaccinations are great? Do they have the...
I don't know.
That's interesting.
I don't know because they have to be educated on it, and they won't allow a chiropractor to do it because you have to have the ability to vaccinate, and most chiropractors aren't going to vaccinate because we've studied the science.
Yeah,
right.
So we got to take a little bit of a break right now. But you said a second ago that 90% of pediatrics business is through the vaccination protocols.
It's called the Well Baby Program. That's 90%. Because you got to figure you got a healthy kid. What are you going to do? Take it to the pediatrician to measure it, weigh it, look at it, and say, yeah, it's healthy. Here you go.
Yeah.
No, it's all that's the business.
Your wellness checkup, the Well Baby.
Well Baby Program.
Mm-hmm.
Baby program. I got to look that up.
Just like the Well Women program, by the way, where they kind of look at you, poke around, and there you go.
Yeah, and
you're good.
So we're going to take a little bit of a break right now. This is episode 358. Is that right, Kate?
You got it.
358. And we'll put all the show notes on this particular show page. And when we get back... When we come back, I want to read a couple little sentences of this cardiologist out of Arizona who sort of went on a rant. Have you heard about this? He went on a rant recently about vaccinations, and it sort of went viral. So I want to share just a couple sentences. It's pretty good stuff.
And then we have 5 rapid-fire questions for you to wrap it up, if that's okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. They're great questions. We have fabulous listeners.
Okay, so if you want to learn more about Dr. Bergman and check out the cruise that he's going on, you can go to owners-guide.com. And you can find out more about him there, as well as BergmanFamilyChiropractic.com. And we'll be right back right after this. Kate and I have had our sauna for about a year now, I'd say, when we first got it from Phil Wilson. And it's an incredible machine. We use ours about every single day. Kate sits in about 20 minutes, and I sit in there about for a half hour. Usually watch a documentary, and it's extremely relaxing. It's really, really incredible machine. And if you go to extremhealthradio.com/sauna, you can learn all about it. We did an entire hour interview with Phil Wilson. You can check that out. You can look at the pictures of us with it. You can watch videos on that page. It helps you to sleep really, really well. You can lose a lot of weight with it. You can burn, I think, around 600 calories in about 20 minutes or so. It improves your skin, increases circulation all over the body, and circulation is critical for your health. You can prevent and reverse diseases with it. If you have a cold or flu, it's incredible. It heats you down to the core. It heats 4 to 6 inches inside your body, so it's really incredible. And a lot of people use it for cancer as well. So if you have any kind of incurable, quote, disease, you can use it for that. And Dr. Shade is the foremost authority on detoxification. And listen to what he says about it.
How do I detoxify from plastics? I mean, you guys are using a sauna, and what does a sauna do for us? A sauna is great. It's moving a number of different toxins. Remember, we talked about the mice that if you put PCBs in there, then that made the mercurial that much worse. And sweating moves out a lot of plastics, volatiles, fat-based toxins. It's really good at moving those out, sweating those out. So that's how you're getting those out, and those are contributing to this synergistic soup inside the body. And so that's why they're good, is they're taking out a bunch of the different things in the soup.
And Daniel Vitalis, one of our favorite guests. What do you have to say about the sauna?
When you go into the sauna, like a far infrared sauna like you discussed, your body goes into a deep relaxation mode, and your sympathetic nervous system shuts down and your parasympathetic nervous system turns on. And when that's active, that's the nervous system, part of your nervous system that's active when you meditate. That becomes active, and your detoxification pathways open up wide. Why is this important? It's important because when you go running and you sweat, you're not necessarily eliminating very much toxicity from your body. But when you sweat in the sauna, you eliminate a lot of toxicity from your body. So sweating in a relaxed state is how we eliminate. The other thing is that what's wonderful about the sauna is that it puts you in a parasympathetic nervous system response, like as if you were meditating. So it's almost a hack. It's like a trick to get yourself into a meditative, relaxed state, to decompress stress, to reverse the effects of stress, and to get your body eliminating deep, deep toxicity that's stored in your body fat because it can come out in the oils of your skin. So I think, sauna is one of the most crucial detoxification, really health practices that we can take on, especially in this era of heavy toxicity, particularly fat-soluble toxins.
This sauna is really, really great. They offer payment plans because if you buy it through PayPal, it's 100% secure. You don't even need a PayPal account. I think you could do a payment plan through PayPal, It's got low EMF electromagnetic fields coming off of it. It's portable, so that means you don't have to knock down a wall in your house. You can just move it from room to room. It sets up in about 2 to 5 minutes. It's super easy to clean. All you got to do is wipe it down when you're done and wipe the neck down. And it produces energy and heat inside very, very evenly throughout the whole machine. All you have to do is sit in there for about 15 minutes a day. And the great thing I like about it too is it requires zero preheating. So you turn it on and you're starting to get warm and you're starting to detoxify with that far infrared light almost immediately. So it's really great. It comes with a 1-year warranty. It's about $990 plus $25 shipping. And that's really, really a good deal because if you look at most of the regular saunas out there, they are in the $2,000 to $4,000 range. So this is really, really a good deal. So check it out, extremehealthradio.com/sauna.
All free shows, all the time on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
We're having a fun time here with Dr. John Bergman. His website, if you're interested, is owners-guide.com as well as bergmanfamilychiropractic.com. What are you laughing at?
I just have to say really quick, I am dying what comes to mind about this vaccination thing. I'm not going to name what friend it is, but we both know him.
Okay.
And he was really upset about what the government was doing to him, including vaccinations while he was in the Navy.
Okay.
And the only way he knew to get out was to fake insanity.
Oh, that's right.
So he would wander around the boat at sea at night, talking to himself and standing really close to buttons he shouldn't have been, trying to say that he was going to do bad things to himself and others. And
Buttons
within weeks, guess what? He was at home gardening in his backyard.
I remember that.
Is that the funniest? But anyway,
wow.
he didn't want to be vaccinated anymore, and he didn't want to continue with what they were making him do.
Fake insanity.
Find it really funny.
So there's this really interesting article. It looks like the website's vaccineimpact.com, and I'll share a link to this. Dr. Jack Wolfson, he's a cardiologist out of Arizona, and I got to share just a couple sentences. He says, I want to address all this misguided anger and see if we can redirect where it belongs. Number one, be angry at food companies. Sugar cereals, donuts, cookies, and cupcakes lead to millions of deaths per year. At its worst, chickenpox killed 100 million people per year. If those chickenpox people didn't eat cereal and donuts, they may still be alive. Call up Nabisco and Kellogg and complain. Protest their products, send them hate mail. Be angry at food restaurants. Tortured meat burgers, pesticide fries, and hormone milkshakes are the problem. The problem is not hepatitis B, which is a virus contracted by drug users and those who sleep with prostitutes. And if you want to inject that vaccine, into your newborn. Number three, be angry at the companies who make your toxic laundry detergent, fabric softener, and dryer sheets you and your children are wearing and breathing known carcinogens. Call Bounce and Downy and let them know. These products kill more people than mumps, a virus which actually doesn't care about or cause anyone to die. Same with hepatitis A, a watery diarrhea. And he goes on and on about all these things that we really should be addressing in our culture that essentially weaken the immune system and cause people to sort of call into question all these different lifestyle factors. And I think he's really hitting at the heart of a lot of things because he's saying, hey, our lifestyle is not healthy and we're causing all of these stressors to our immune system. And that's sort of what we're talking about.
Oh, man, the guy's right on.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of courage to be in the system and speaking truth.
Yeah, it's been going on, and
it's been going viral.
He says, be angry with pharmaceutical companies for allowing us to believe that living the above life can be treated with drugs. Correctly prescribed drugs will kill thousands of people per year. The flu kills just about no one. The vaccine never works. Finally, be angry with yourself for not opening your eyes to the snow job and brainwashing which have taken over your mind. You never asked the doctor any questions. You never asked what is in the vaccines. and you never learned about these benign infections.
Wow.
I wonder if he still has his
I
practice.
wonder if he has his neck.
I'll share this article in the chat room.
That's intense.
But he goes on and on. Dr. Jack Wolfson is a board-certified cardiologist in Phoenix, and he's known as the paleo cardiologist and the natural cardiologist. So we've got a couple different websites, but he's putting his neck out on the line, especially being in the system as a medical doctor.
Yep.
That takes guts.
Wow.
Great courage. But that's how the system's going to change. Eventually, people are going to say, man, the emperor doesn't have any clothes.
Right?
You know? And that website, Vaccine Impact, is excellent.
Oh, yeah, you know about that.
Yeah, oh, yeah. There's another one, Vaccination Council, that's also fantastic.
Oh, okay.
And these are the sites that have the data that what I like. If someone's going to make a statement, great. Give me a reference. Let me look it up. And that's where I get all my research.
That is so cool.
Oh, it's way more fun.
So you've done a few talks, I think, on vaccinations at your clinic, and you do talks. You do them once a week.
Yeah, once a week. Yeah, and I do a vaccine talk about 3 times a year, and I always pick a vaccine and then beat the heck out of it.
Yeah. It's like you against the vaccine.
Yeah, because it's too much to go over in an hour talk and talk about the entire history.
Yeah.
I think the last one I talked about was tetanus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you do these talks once a week, and then you also speak at the Living Temple every now and then?
Yep, twice a month.
Twice a month. And all these things are recorded. So people, in the age of the internet, people are thinking, oh, well, I wish I lived near you and I could go see this. But you put these on YouTube.
All on YouTube. That's why.
Cool.
And what's neat, too, is they're all on, everybody gets free access for 7 days at the owner's-guide site.
Oh, right.
And that's the cool part, because that's got all of the PowerPoints, and then... So when I make a statement, I put a scientific reference. So it's a way to change the system using science and appropriate data.
Wow, that is really cool.
I have to say, every time we're in your clinic, we hear people talk. There's so many people there at one time, and you'll hear a bunch of people talking. How'd you find Dr. Bergman? And most of them are YouTube. We hear it all day long. Every time we've gone up, there's somebody off of YouTube. Like,
we were talking to a lady the other day. It was so funny.
She was so cool.
She was reaching bikes on YouTube. Which kind of bike to buy? And somehow your video was on the right-hand side, probably Dr. DeWitt's doing. And your video was on the right-hand side, and she had back problems, and she was trying to find a bike, just a regular around-town bike, and she watched your thing. And
here she is at your clinic.
She was from, her and her husband were from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
They were super cool.
Yeah, we've this past
stories.
week we had a patient from Senegal, from Canada, Frankfurt, Germany,
oh my God,
and Singapore.
Wow.
And so it's cool. And what's neat, when you see people from all around the world, we're all the same.
Yeah.
It's just like a big family. I like it.
Oh
I like being here.
That's so cool. Yeah, we're there's a lady we just saw recently who was, I think she was unable to walk, and through a series of chiropractic sessions, I think she's been seeing you for a few years. Now she was walking through, and there's another lady who was telling us the story of this lady that walked through who was walking gingerly, but she said to us, hey, do you know about her story and what happened? And now she's walking.
It's cool, but it's not me doing the healing. We remove the interference from that the body is presenting, and we instruct people on how the body regenerates itself, and the body heals.
Yeah.
I show people how knee cartilage and hip cartilage and how bone spurs can go away, how discs can regenerate, and their body takes care of it. It's
That's awesome.
Humans are the miracle.
Yeah. Hey, is there any detoxification protocols that you know about that could get rid of the remnants of some of these vaccines in our bodies?
The best thing that you can look at is chlorella, spirulina. They'll bind to some heavy metals.
Okay.
But really just the whole healthy lifestyle of getting soluble fibers from juicing to clean the arteries and don't toxify the system more.
Okay.
And, you can see like high-dose vitamin C is effective in some cases. It's interesting. One of my patients, he's a pediatrician that doesn't vaccinate.
Okay.
And he'll give cholesterol supplements to kids with autism. because cholesterol is the precursor to every hormone you're going to make, and it's the precursor to cortisol, which is the best anti-inflammatory. And some of these kids' livers have been so damaged that they can't produce enough cholesterol to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm. Wow, isn't that amazing?
Oh, yeah. So the detoxing's really got to be done on an individual basis.
Okay.
But we get infants all the time, and their abdomens are swollen, distended. And I'll go in, didn't your pediatrician know this? And it's happening to so many kids. The pediatricians are now thinking that a swollen, distended, tender abdomen in an infant is normal because of, the 36 shots they get by the time they're 18 months.
And all the other kids look like that. So I guess it is normal in a sick sort of culture. Did you want to go through some
because we know Dr. B's a busy man. I told about 5 people I would get their questions answered. Is that okay if we kind of go there? Anytime. I know it's not, and we're kind of getting off the topic of vaccines. But, okay, what do you think about jaundice and the importance of avoiding fats for the condition of jaundice?
Jaundice has to do with how the liver is functioning, typically, but it's not really that. Okay, the whole theory is that when you eat fats, the fat hits the duodenum, which is right next to the stomach. Then the gallbladder. That's the
little door between.
Exactly. Okay. It's kind of like the stomach, and then there's a muscle there that's called the pyloric sphincter, and then that thing opens up and allows the food to come from the stomach and the duodenum. Now, the pancreas and the gallbladder drain through the same opening. Okay. And so anytime fat hits that area, the gallbladder, which is connected to the liver, secretes and emulsifies the fat, breaks it down. So it's really not avoiding fats. Okay, you got to find out what's causing the blood to be toxic. Okay. Because what ultimately is, and this is kind of cool, because this is what we're going to be talking about on the cruise too.
Oh, nice.
You got a spleen over, and the spleen, its job is to check and make sure that each red blood cell is viable. Okay. Because blood cells wear out after about 120 days. So if the blood cells aren't viable, it passes all of those used up red blood cells to the liver in order to make bile. Okay. So then you got to start thinking, well, the liver can't really malfunction unless there's some type of toxic infection. And the most common causes of liver disorders now are high fructose corn syrup. We're actually seeing a fatty liver disease in kids, which used to be just like in alcoholics.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of jaundice area like that. So what you got to do is realize that the jaundice liver is usually from some type of, not a hepatitis infection or something. It has to do with the weakened immune system or toxic blood. So the way that because you do require fats. Medium chain fats such as coconut oil don't require the gallbladder in order to be absorbed. So you may have to increase the fat, okay, but of medium chain fats, of coconut oil or palm oil would be appropriate. Okay. Yeah, and also find the source of the liver disorder.
Interesting. Wow.
Okay. Cool.
Great. Okay. Here's a good one for you. What can you do about peripheral neuropathy in the feet? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
From type 2 diabetes, and can you fix this?
Yeah. In fact, type 2 diabetes is one of the easy ones.
Wow.
95% of all diabetics out there are type 2. Dr. Gabriel Cousens has been curing diabetes for about 25 years. He wrote the book, How to Cure Diabetes. He did the video called Raw for 30 Days. Mm-hmm. And what's fun is we use his protocols in our practice, not down to the 100% raw. But we tell people, you go on a raw food diet, within 5 to 7 days, your blood sugar begins to be normal. Because the problem, peripheral means away from the spine, neuro means nerve, pathy means problem. So you just said you got a nerve problem away from the spine. Okay, now the feet are the area that's going to show up the most toxic effect first, because it's far away from the heart and blood tends to pool in there using gravity.
Okay.
Wow.
So we're looking at gout, diabetes. A lot of these toxic blood conditions are going to present in the feet first. This is why when I'm doing a physical exam, I pretty much almost on everybody, I say, hey, look, take off your shoes, let me check something.
Yeah.
And because you're going to see toxic blood influences from there.
Interesting.
So cure the diabetes. The 2 drugs that they use are the drugs that they use for type 2 diabetes are metformin and glucophage. These things absolutely lower blood glucose. Insulin levels remain high.
Okay.
So it's the insulin that does the damage to the nerves. So the drugs themselves that they use to treat type 2 diabetes, which is a response from the body from toxic food, the drugs they use to treat it are actually going to be contributing to the neuropathy problem. So what they really need to do is fix the diabetes first. Okay, and you do that by, reading the book, getting educated, but finding the physical, chemical, or emotional stressors that's causing your body to either not process the sugars or carbohydrates effectively, or not utilize the sugars effectively. Because we know now that it's not just the pancreas that secretes insulin. The brain also secretes insulin. And if that's true, maybe we've missed other areas in the body, because insulin doesn't do anything except it unlocks or allows glucose to go into the cell. So to cure diabetes, it's pretty much detoxifying your diet. So going raw, healthy, organic for about 5 to 7 days, and you're going to see the blood sugar start to normalize. Get the nervous system checked by a corrective chiropractor, because you got to find the physical, chemical, and emotional stressors. Then you got to restore the biomechanics of the foot, the calf, the knee, the pelvis, the low back, all the secondary requirements. Because typically people with a peripheral neuropathy and type 2 diabetes, they're also on cholesterol drugs, on blood pressure drugs, because the blood's not healthy, so the heart rate has to kick up in order to keep this toxic blood. And so, you got to find the source of it.
It's interesting you said that about the brain, because I've heard, recently a lot of people are talking about how the body's more kind of like a hologram, in a sense that, most people think that organs are only doing the things that we think that they're doing. But if you remove an organ, somehow the rest of the body is going to produce whatever it was that organ was doing. And so it works as a system and it works as a whole. I never heard about that, about the brain before.
You're talking radical stuff. Be careful. Because
isolate specialists now.
That's totally different than the medical system. So you're going to bring the whole system down. Yeah. But the German physicians in the mid-1800s came over and broke the body into parts. And they broke it into pulmonary system, digestive system, circulatory system. Okay?
Oh, they're all separate.
They're all separate, completely separate. Yeah. Okay. And then we developed the specialties. So you got the gastroenterologist, the pulmonologist, the renal physiologist. None of that makes sense, because if we know that serotonin is produced in the gut, gastroenterologists are experts in diseases of the gut. They're not experts in nutrition. They're not experts in the brain.
Well, I think that's pervasive in just about everything we are in societies. If we feel like we're separate from other people, we don't feel like we're connected. I think it's just a microcosm of a larger societal issue where we're separated from everybody else, and our body systems are separate. I mean, there's people that go to foot doctors, and I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah. Consistently we get people to throw away their orthotics because we restore the normal foot. You just have to appreciate that the body works in harmony. There's nothing. When I talk about the thyroid problems, it's never the thyroid. When we talk about the adrenals, it's never adrenal fatigue. There's always some secondary, tertiary, physical, chemical, or emotional stressor that's the source.
Yeah, I love it.
Love it. Okay. Well, then we go to this question, which I'm sure you just answered. Can also type 1 diabetes be, quote, cured?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's neat is, so far, I've only seen one type 2 diabetic completely cured, where they completely got off insulin, absolutely normal sugar, had a normal diet, okay? But 100% of the type 1 diabetics reduce their insulin usage. And that's universal.
Wow.
Okay. And that's across the board, because it's not just dealing with the 3 stressors. Okay. You got to get the nervous system working correctly. The pancreas may have been damaged so much that it can't produce, do its normal endocrine function.
Right.
So there may be some permanent damage there. But even in the movie Raw for 30 Days,
there was a type 1 in there.
Type 1 diabetic
type 1?
that cured. What's a trip is when you see that movie, this one gal who had diabetes for 20 years goes up to her medical doctor back home and says, "Hey, look, I'm cured." And he says, "Well, maybe I should send all my patients to Arizona."
He said that.
And I'm going, why didn't you ask her what they did so you could duplicate their results and cure people?
They don't want to know.
They don't want to know.
They don't want to. They must not want to know.
That. I think his mindset, his brain, to cure a disease instead of treat it or manage it was so far afield. Because I've had a lot of patients that come in with type 2 diabetes, with type 1 diabetes, and I tell them, our protocols, and I tell them our nutrition. And this one gal, she was in her early 20s. She says, well, that's totally different than the doctor that's managing my diabetes. And I said, yeah, I don't want to manage it. I want to fix it.
Yeah.
Two totally different words.
Yeah, because then you're not dependent,
Wow. Okay, we're going to throw one last one at you because this is really good. This person in the chat has dealt with neck issues in adulthood following a tonsillectomy from childhood, including vagus nerve / gut disturbance, feigning and immune dysfunction, and neurotransmitter imbalances. Is that something that you see all the time or have heard about?
All the time.
I'm sure.
Because what they're going to have, the tonsillectomy for sure, that because you're removing healthy lymph tissue, that's why they don't do it a lot. But what she's describing also too is forward head carriage. She's going to have a loss of curve in the neck or something. There's some type of dysfunction there. Because there's 2 cranial nerves. One's 10, and that's the vagus nerve. And that vagus nerve leads the brain and comes in and surrounds the esophagus and supplies the entire gastrointestinal system. Now, that isn't going to be injured by a tonsillectomy. Okay. And the glossopharyngeal nerve also goes in and it surrounds a sensor in the middle of your neck that regulates heart function and carbon dioxide levels. But that one isn't involved. Okay,
is not.
In a tonsillectomy. No, but what is involved, is a distortion of the nerves that supply that throat area that may have caused the tonsils to be defective in the first place. So she may have had ear infections as a kid or a breathing problem as a kid or bowel disturbances as a kid or a traumatic birth. If she's under 20 or something, her mom may have been given pitocin. And pitocin increases the risk of neurologic damage from vaccines 60%. So in approaching her case, what we do is first we'd say, did you have ear infections, breathing problems? Was your mom given pitocin? When did you first develop the symptoms? Then we'd check her entire nervous system. We'd actually take an x-ray of not just the neck, but also find out more things, like maybe the mid-back area where the sympathetic nervous system is. That may also be involved. So find out what actually is weakening the immune system and keeping her in a fight or flight state. Because the vagus nerve is part of the parasympathetic nervous system.
Okay.
So if that thing's malfunctioning, you got to look at the other half of the autonomics.
And that's controlled by the middle back, you said?
Yeah, well, it's kind of neat because when people talk about the autonomic or automatic nervous system, they talk about it in esoteric terms.
Yeah.
Like one's fight or flight, the other's rest and digest. One's cranial sacral, the other's thoracolumbar.
Right.
But I mean, I taught anatomy for 8 years. And so it's so cool to actually open up a cadaver. They're dead.
I've done that once.
You haven't opened up a live human before?
Not one that I like.
Against their will?
I've got the chance to do that one time.
It's a trip because you can actually hold the sympathetic chain. Wow. You can actually see the parasympathetic nerves. Now, the parasympathetic nerves are literally around what's called the brainstem area. And if that person has a head that's forward or a neck trauma, that can actually elongate the spinal cord and negatively affect the entire parasympathetic nervous system. And so since she has a problem with the vagus nerve, we also want to check the sacrum. Because that pelvic area, if there's an unstable pelvis, that's going to decrease. And because you've got the 2 halves of the automatic or autonomic nervous system. If one's suppressed, the other's activated. If one's activated, the other's suppressed. Okay. So if she's having a parasympathetic nervous system problem with the vagus nerve, by God, let's look for the sympathetic stimulus. So you treat it because her body is responding correctly. Okay, given the environmental stimulus, we just need to find it.
See, isn't that funny that you're right? It's reacting correctly, but we look at it as like a ill response to something, but it's doing exactly what it should do. It's just it's all off kilter, so it's viewed as bad.
I saw this one study that checked on cadavers the amount of tumors that a human being has. Of cancerous tumors. So, let's say they were, killed in a fall, car wreck, plane crash.
Unexpected.
Unexpected. Okay. And so then they identify these tumors that the body walled off and were benign. And I think the statistics were like 50% of everybody at 50, 80% of everybody over 70, and virtually 100% of people over 80 have these cancerous tumors that are completely walled off, protected, and not affecting the person. So a tumor assists a fibroid. Most of the time, it's the body walling off some type of pathogen. And so even those aren't. And that's why it's foolish when you're talking about like cancer. They gauge the effectiveness of their therapy by shrinking the tumor.
Wow, I know.
That's not consistent with science.
Can chiropractic assist in the shrinkage of fibroids completely in people? Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, well, it's kind of cool. If you look on our testimonial page, you're going to see the most darling little kid. Okay, little Eli. His mom comes to me, okay, when she's 3 months pregnant. Little Eli's a 3-month-old fetus in her, and then she has a tumor the size of a grapefruit. Next to little Eli. And the medical doctors gave her two choices. We take the tumor, the kid's going to be born deformed, or we kill the kid and we take the tumor. Well, she's Catholic and she didn't want an abortion, so she went for option 3. She came to my office. Now, I couldn't x-ray her, but I did at the time have a diagnostic ultrasound. So I identified certain areas of nerve pressure, and we monitored the size of the tumor next to the kid. And within a month, the tumor went from a grapefruit size down about 20% small. And then at, I think it was like 3 months later, so now the kid is 6 months, the tumor was down to about the size of a small lemon. And I didn't want to keep bombarding the kid with these high-frequency ultrasound waves, And so when the kid's born, and the mom was completely pain-free at this point. When the kid was born, there was no tumor. And you got this darling gal with this kid bouncing around, and thank you, Dr. Bergman, and the kid's jumping around all over.
Oh my gosh!
And little Eli's still my patient, and she's still my patient.
Was he the one that you were tipping upside down the other day when we were in there, and you were tickling him, and you gave him a balloon? That wasn't him, was it?
That's actually how I adjust kids.
Oh yeah, you hold them like that?
Because in order to traction their neck, you want to make a plan. So I'll literally grab their butt, hold them upside down. Oh,
they were laughing?
And that tractions up the neck, and it takes almost nothing. And this is to correct ear infections or asthma, breathing problems, sleep disorders.
I've seen you guys do it a couple times. I was assuming there was a whole
it's a blast
plan there.
Really quickly, I have a as you can see in the studio here, I have a inversion table. Are those good? Speaking of
for you, absolutely.
Okay.
For most Americans, hell no.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if you figure what that does, that radically increases the pressure inside of your brain.
Yes.
Okay, and if you have a toxic deficient lifestyle, that's completely contraindicated. Absolutely, it's okay, dude.
Okay.
You're a Greek god. I mean, you drink juice, you eat correctly, you exercise.
Should I be worried about this relationship?
No, goddess. But so because it's phenomenally beneficial. But I tell my patients, don't ever let a standard American use an inversion table.
Okay.
But that's the biomechanics on a healthy person. It's incredibly good.
It's good. Okay.
Helps with lymph flow. Opens up the arteries. Oh, it's incredible.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Because I haven't used it for a while, and I want to go back to using. I know we got to wrap up the show because you're a busy man, but I wanted to ask you one quick question about what you said a few seconds ago about pitocin and 60%.
That's interesting.
Increase in risk from the
increase of vaccine damage. Now what's interesting, and this is when I get a patient in, and I'll ask. I'll say, well, how many kids have you had? And they'll say 1 or 2. And I said, well, were they born natural at home or in a hospital? Oh, natural in a hospital. And I tell them, if it's an American hospital, that's not possible.
Yeah.
When you look at the World Health Organization, the damage from kids, you have from the damage that kids incur under the birth process, it's safer to have a child born in El Salvador or Croatia than to have a kid born in an American hospital.
Really?
Because during a natural birth, and this is, it's ridiculous. If you've ever seen one, the kid is talking to the mom during the process. So the mom is never laying on her back flat. Okay, she's moving, bending, turning, twisting, and it's almost like a dance because the kid is asking the mom to shift her body in a way to position the kid. A beautiful, brilliant, but wonderful communication. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then the kid it comes out. In an American hospital, they view it as a medical procedure. Now, remember we were talking about the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. you need to be under the rest, digest, and repair control in order for the cervix to dilate, for the kid to come out, because the kid doesn't want to come out in an unstable, dangerous environment. Okay.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, they want to stay put.
It's huge.
It's huge.
So, and this is typically what happens in an American hospital where, oh, honey, your contractions start. Let's go to the hospital. Bam. Okay. When they get to
Are
the
you in
hospital,
any pain? Let's give you an epidural. Or it's not going fast enough. Let's give you pitocin.
And that's the stress.
Exactly.
The stress
They don't want women
stimulates the sympathetic and it stops the contractions.
Of course.
So then they go to the hospital. They put the IV in the arm. They put the baby monitor on, which is the baby monitors are actually not really effective. Okay. In identifying stress on the baby. I think I saw one study, 93% ineffective. Wow. And so they stick the IV in the arm and they tell the mom, because you can't walk around with an IV, lay on your back. So now she can't move. The contractions have slowed. So they give her a cow hormone called pitocin. And they do it, and it's called pit to distress, where you do pitocin and so much. So all of a sudden it initiates these massive contractions.
Bam.
Slamming the kid's head up against the cervix, which causes the cervix to swell, which causes intense pain.
Spinal issues from that?
Spinal issues on the kid for sure. Okay. That's why when we get kids in here, that are ear infections, asthma, breathing problems, it's all, did your mom get pitocin?
That's why you ask.
Yeah, that's why we ask all the time. And then, of course, it causes so much pain, then the mom's given an epidural. So we don't know yet, but we know. Now, is it the pitocin that increases the sensitivity to vaccine damage, or is it the damage that the kid occurs from having the spinal trauma during the pitocin? We don't know. It's not going to be studied. The only thing that we do know is that if the kid is born at home, you have like 0.0025 chance of having a damage on a per 1,000 births. Okay. If a kid is born in an American hospital, they have 18 per 1,000 chance of getting injured.
That's not a small difference.
So we're talking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds percentage greater.
When you say at home, are you also including birthing centers that are popular now? Like home environment.
Exactly, the home environment. Yeah, and the birthing. We got a couple of doulas. We've got some midwives.
I think
patients.
That's amazing. I'm loving this whole reemerging of emergence.
When you see, there's one video called Baby Inc. There's Baby in America. Those are all part of our lending library. Oh, wow. You see how beautiful birth can actually be, and it's wonderful.
Well, when you have the pitocin, you're also causing the ability or the inability for the child to communicate with the mother, because there's all this other distress going on and the massive contraction. So the child can't communicate with the mother in that loving way. Right, so you're almost the child wants to be birthed, right? Then when you put the pitocin in there, and she's having these massive contractions, her body can no longer communicate with the child. It's like it's artificial force.
I even get parents in that say, "Oh no, my baby was born C-section," and I'm going, do you realize that there's 4 times the amount of pressure on a child's neck during a C-section?
Is there really?
Yeah, and forget about the trauma with the mom. I mean, we're talking, that's a major surgery that can have nasty complications, but it negatively affects the kid. I mean, just to the nth degree. It's just not normal.
And then the mother probably has blocked meridian flow and energetic patterns from the scar and all that. And then they have the forceps when they're bringing the kids out, messes their neck up, right?
They actually say that there's also a separation, because in other cultures, when a child is born, usually the child is born with the umbilical cord attached and laid on the mother's chest. And the cord isn't cut until it stops pulsating. So it's pumping all this beautiful stem cells inside of the kid and everything else. In America, they cut the cord, clamp it, cut it, and then, do you want to save the stem cells in case the kid develops a disease later? We'll save the cord blood,
because that's not negative programming.
Yeah, right.
That's not the.
It's just. The other cultures, it's just.
Wow.
But that's why World Health Organization lists America as one of the most dangerous places, industrialized countries, to have a kid. Yeah.
Well, then they sort of ceremonialize the cutting of the cord with the father doing it and make this whole thing about it, and cut off all those stem cells and immune system cells.
Well, isn't the lotus birthing becoming a bit more popular, coming back a bit? hopefully.
I hope so.
Let that cord drop off natural. And
I've heard of people holding on to the placenta for until it dries out.
Yeah,
this is amazing. That's amazing. Wow. Well, thank you. This was so fun.
Oh, this was so
fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys can invite me back anytime and any more questions, man.
Well, we had about 40 whatever people live today, so we didn't get to all of them. We'd love to have anytime you want to come in.
The door's always open for any time on a Friday, so I know that that's your day off. So anytime on a Friday, we'll make our schedule work with yours.
Next time, I mean, I'll talk on any subject you want, but I'm doing some research on heart and clogged arteries, on heart attacks.
Nice.
Heart attacks are not the result of clogged arteries. So if I mean, I'll talk on anything, but boy, this is like the measles thing that I was just like obsessed with today.
Yeah,
I had to talk about.
Just had to get out of you.
Well, that hits
We'd
home
love
because
that.
I was diagnosed. In fact, we recently had this incredible sonogram, I think, last year. And the hypertrophic cardiomyopathy that my body had when I was 15 no longer has. So, but I still
so much so that it said that you were misdiagnosed, most probably, but that's how you've healed.
But I feel like
emotionally,
heart health is a big deal.
Yeah, very connected.
Yeah, in my life.
Ooh.
All right, so people want to follow you. You have a Facebook account, right? People can follow you on there as well as YouTube, right?
Yep, Facebook, YouTube, Owner's Guide. And or see me in 3 weeks in the Caribbean.
I love it.
Yeah, man.
And how many times are you going to snorkel?
Man.
Every
day?
chance I get. Yeah, every chance.
Every chance you get. That's awesome.
I'm not bringing my own BC, but I'm going to rent the equipment.
So I'm sorry, it's not snorkeling. It's scuba diving. So you're registered, or you're certified, and the whole deal.
Oh yeah, I got deep water night navigation.
Really?
There's a thing in San Diego called Wreck Alley.
What is that?
If you get a chance, YouTube the Yukon. I went down there because they've sunk some ships. The Yukon is a Canadian warship, and you're literally down there. It looks like Jacques Cousteau. You're swimming around these giant cannons.
Oh,
it's about 100 feet deep, so you got to be deep water certified. But it's really cool.
Oh my gosh, that's
Have
spooky.
you ever seen those guys that go into the caves underneath the ground, like in South America, the deep cave? They go like a mile in.
I would love to do that.
Would you do that?
Oh, in a second.
Really?
In a second. Really? There's actually diving in Death Valley that I saw it on a documentary.
Death Valley?
Yeah, the underwater, because there's groundwater there.
What?
Oh my gosh.
It's
really?
Wow.
I know. Cool
Look
stuff.
what we learn when we have Dr. B in.
Goodness, how fun is this? All right, so this was episode 358 of Extreme Health Radio. So we'll put links to everything that we talked about at extremehealthradio.com/358. And I want to thank all of you guys for being in the chat room. This was awesome.
So much fun.
I'm so sorry that we weren't able to get to everyone's questions, but man, you guys are just rocking it. I love it. And hopefully you made some friends there in the chat room. We appreciate it so much. And our next show is going to be next Friday. We're going to be talking with Mark McAfee, I think you say his last name?
McAfee.
From Organic Pastures, talking about raw milk and all of his products there. So that'll be a lot of fun at 9 o'clock next Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific time at extremehealthradio.com/live. And we appreciate all of you guys so much. And if you guys would be so kind as to pass the show on to any of your friends, if you would, who are interested in vaccines, maybe they're open-minded, maybe they're just doing some research. Dr. Bergman's got a ton of videos that he's done, talks at his clinic on vaccinations, so you can check those out on YouTube and just help educate your friends. So pass this show on to them if you would be so kind. And we appreciate it so much. And that's about it, right, Kate?
That's a wrap, you guys. That was a blast.
Thanks so much. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you.
I have been a huge fan of rebounding for many, many years. And if you want to get in great cardiovascular shape, tone your legs, back, and butt, and stomach, as well as cleanse your lymphatic system from toxins and chemicals, you just have to start rebounding. It's imperative. And not only will it create endorphins that quickly become addictive to you, but it's very low impact as well. It helps to prevent sicknesses and diseases, as well as increase bone density, and it flushes toxins from your lymphatic system. It's amazing. And not only that, but it's a ton of fun also. I do it every single day for about 15 minutes. And we found the best rebounder on the market today in the world, bar none. It's called the Bellicon Rebounder. It's the Rolls-Royce of rebounders, in my opinion. And let's listen to some of what our guests have had to say about rebounding. Robert von Sarbacher is a health researcher and creator of the Mini-Beat Protocol. And Robert, What's your favorite exercise?
In general, probably one of the number one anti-aging exercises on the planet is rebounding. So 15 minutes a day is good for that. You can find people who have had thermography scans on cancers, giant tumors, and when they're doing a rebounder, it would start spewing out and shrinking right in front of your eyes, the tumor would, as they're on the rebounder. So it's really good for that sort of thing. It's also very good for exercising internal organs. It's the only internal organ exerciser that I know of known to man.
Dr. Lindsay Duncan is the CEO and founder of Genesis Today. And what's the best way that you think of to stimulate the lymphatic system of the body?
Rebounding is incredible because it's good for the lymphatic system, and there's more lymph fluid in the body than there is blood. And the quickest way and the most effective way to get the lymphatic system flowing is through rebounding itself.
Yeah, because the lymphatic system can't really detox itself, can it? I think you
know. The heart, we have the heart, thank you, for pumping blood. And we don't have a heart to pump lymphatic fluid. The only thing that really can pump lymphatic fluid is cardiovascular exercise utilizing the thighs, the thigh muscles. And that's why rebounding and getting a burn in that thigh muscle is so important for the flow and the stimulation of the lymphatic fluid.
Wow, and they even put cancer patients on rebounding, don't they?
Nutritionists do.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but not a conventional doctor. But yeah, I've been learning about rebounding lately. It's quite an amazing thing.
Yeah, rebounding's amazing.
Health researcher and author of Cancer Step Outside the Box, Ty Bollinger. What do you do in your life to prevent cancer?
What do you do to treat cancer? What do you do to prevent it? Rebounding is something that I try to do on a daily basis. A little mini trampoline for those people that aren't familiar with the term rebounding, but it's basically just jumping up and down on a little mini tramp. What that does is it stimulates the lymphatic system. Lymphatic system is one of our primary detoxification systems in our body, and most folks don't stimulate their lymph flow, and so the toxicity in their body builds up because their lymph is not stimulated, and the up-down motion on a rebounder stimulates the lymph flow better than just about any other exercise. So I do that almost on a daily, probably 5 days a week, I would say I average doing that.
And finally, author and speaker and creator of the Longevity Now program, David Wolf. Do you think the Bellicon is the best rebounder on the market today?
Absolutely. I was just with the crew in Europe that does the Bellicon rebounder, which is an incredible rebounder. My God, what a machine. And it doesn't use metal springs. It uses like flexi ropes. So it's very soft and fun, and it's just great to play with.
Well, there you have it. The up and down G-force actually stimulates every single cell in your body. It's incredible. And as someone who works out in the gym a lot and does Qigong, I think that the best physical aerobic exercise, in my opinion, is rebounding. It's just absolutely incredible for the human body. And the Bellicon is silent, and it comes with a warranty, and you can get them in several different sizes and colors, and some of them have bars that you can hold on to in case you're worried about balance. It's a well worth it investment in your health and in your future. So check them out in our store if you'd like, or you can check out the videos on extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. Again, that's extremehealthradio.com/Bellicon. That's B as in boy, ELLICON.
All free shows, all the time, on Extreme Health Radio. Opening minds and transforming lives worldwide. Join our community today. Sign up to our email list and instantly get our free gift to you, along with loads of inspirational content and cutting-edge tips to help change your life at extremehealthradio.com/subscribe.
All right.
Oh, we're on.
We're on, and we're still chatting with people in the chat room here.
I'm over here just sticking ice cream in my mouth and coconut, of course.
Coconut ice cream. Dr. John Bergman, how awesome is he?
My gosh,
he is. I love him and his work, and it's just so cool.
I'd want to be on a desert island with him.
Yeah, he's just
after
so cool.
you, of course, but
yeah, well,
he might be my second choice. I'd never be bored.
No, you'd never be bored.
And he'd teach me how to scuba, so we'd be good.
Yeah, this was a great show. We had tons of people in the chat room, and we appreciate it so much. It's really a lot of fun when we have you guys all interacting in the chat room and asking questions. And it does become a little bit challenging to ask all of your questions, so we're not going to be able to do that all the time or get all of the questions answered. But we do our best, and I just love that people are in there mixing it up and talking with each other and becoming a part of this whole amazing community that we have now at Extreme Health Radio. And you guys that are a part of the community are just incredible, and we're just so appreciative that you're here and wanting to improve your life in some way. But we just got done walking Dr. Bergman out. He had to go back to the clinic and do some research and pay some bills or write some checks, and he had to do some research on his next heart talk that he's going to go do on next Tuesday.
I cannot wait for this.
That's pretty cool, huh? I just love the fact that they film all of his talks, and you can watch them on YouTube. I spend a ton of time watching his stuff.
I know.
Yeah, it's great.
I remember Tana, one of our favorite listeners.
Texas Tana.
Good old Tex. She posted a while ago on Facebook one of the links to Dr. B's talks on endometriosis and fibroids in women and hormonal health. Man, that guy, it's like, I listened to it, and then I was like, right afterward, I'm like, I can't wait for this to come up again. And I could listen to things 3 or 4 or 5 times before they really sink in. All the information is just so vast. That guy's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, he's great. He's just...
if you have any kind of concerns, I think he has some YouTube information out there.
Oh my gosh, 400, almost close to 500 videos now on YouTube. Isn't that cool?
That's insane.
That's really cool. Yeah, we've been going to him for, how long have we been going? For 5 months?
See, yeah, I started in October.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for about 5 months. Yeah, he's our health has improved dramatically since seeing him, and we actually see Dr. DeWitt, who we've become great friends with as well, and the whole staff up there is just incredible, and he works with people with all kinds of different health issues, and if you have any sort of health issue, there's this huge component of our biomechanics and how our body works and how our body, our structure and the way our body moves and ambulates and all these things are affected by our spine and upper cervical. And when you get that working correctly and aligned properly, the meridians of the body can flow. There's less stress on the organs. The organs can start functioning properly and start detoxifying and start doing their job better. And becomes this whole cascading effect that happens when you get the body aligned properly. And so he's been helping us a lot.
Isn't it funny, though? You'd think chiropractic, you think, oh, my neck's sore or stiff, or I need to go get adjusted. I mean, I never knew the intricacies
of all that
and the depth of what really goes on in your body. And when you have a properly aligned body, what that could look and feel like. It's quite amazing to me.
I know. It's awesome. Yeah. Talk about, man, I didn't know that about pitocin. It creates a 60% increase in the risk of vaccination. So, especially if you have a little boy, who are more at risk, I think because of the testosterone and hormone level differences of getting autism, then man, if you have a boy, wow, what a crazy thing.
It's funny with the pitocin thing because you always hear about, I've thought so many times about the women, the problems it causes the mothers. You kick it into high gear with pitocin, it causes you to be in so much immediate pain that you're not really, a lot of people can't stand that pain. I don't blame them. And so you want the epidural, you opt for that. And then you're pushing in a way that you don't even know, you're not connected with your body. So then you're ripping. And then you have, we were talking about it on the way up to Dr. Bergman's, I think this week, you and I, about, who was it that suggested the clay packing? Oh,
Dr. Marshall.
Dr. Marshall, for Dr. Bob Marshall.
For episiotomy.
For scars and episiotomies and anything where you've had damage to that tissue, because, I think an episiotomy, unfortunately, does more damage than we could ever know. But that's just the woman's body. And then you think, oh my gosh, I never knew that about the baby. It makes sense that the minute you get pitocin, the baby's out. It kicks the baby into such an uncomfortable sort of a, what's the word he used? Like it puts the baby into immediate distress. So they want out. So they're smashing their head up against the...
And it was interesting that he said they don't really know. Why would they know this? But they don't really know what damage is being caused by their head slamming against the uterus like that, the wall of the uterus from the pitocin. But it's
birth.
And
life.
If you really want to be strong and get through this life, you have to start educating yourself. It's a process. You have to really sort of overcome the media programming and what everyone's telling you to do and start doing your own research and things.
That's what it comes down to with everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's...
That might be the world's loudest and longest motorcycle.
I'm not sure if you guys picked that up on the show. But
it was like 40 seconds of a motorcycle just like trying to go by our place.
Yeah, interesting.
Oh, brother.
Yeah, really fascinating stuff with Dr. John Bergman and owners-guide.com. If you want to learn more about him, I'd highly recommend checking out his videos on YouTube. He's got a ton of them on there.
You're never going to be bored.
Yeah, pass them on to your friends. Pass this show on to your friends, too, if you would be so kind. We'd appreciate that. It would help our show, and it would help us to gain new listeners, and that would be great. Pass the show on to your friends, anyone who's interested in the measles vaccine or whatever.
Yeah, anyone who's interested in not being scared of the measles hype.
You know what we were talking about last week, I think it's up to like 70 people that have had the measles vaccine, but what we're talking about is how much were they really affected by the by the measles?
Well, first of all, I want to know who the people are.
Yeah.
Can you show me? I mean, I know it's privacy and stuff, but I would love to see who these, quote, 70 infected people are. And even if that is true, and there actually are 70 people that have had this outbreak of measles, I want to know all the other conditions and cracks in the immune system, or other onslaughts to their body that might have, made this measles thing kind of a whole different story for them versus an above average healthy immune system person,
But it's funny that 70 people and they call it an outbreak.
I know. Right?
And then how really bad is it? For those 70 people, have any of them died, or what is the worst of their issues, of their health struggles? Because it does elevate your temperature and things. But
right.
I wonder, were there really 70, and how bad really was it? Was it just an opportunity for the news media to spread more fear? Because really, in actuality, I'm not trying to be like a conspiracy person, but if they said 70 or 75, who's checking?
I know.
What part of the public is checking? Who are those other 5 people?
Or if they said 700.
We wouldn't know. They could just say any number they want.
Right.
But even if you assume it is 70, then, how bad did it really affect them?
Well, Dr. Bergman's making it sound like, not making it sound like, he said at one point in that interview that it's by the time, what did he say, the kid's 7 years old, you almost want them to go through 4 or 5.
7.
Was it 7? By the time they're 7?
By the time they're 7.
Oh, then there you go. It's an easy way to remember it.
Yeah.
You want the kids to become strong, and the way that they're going to do that is almost like I remember with growing up when we were little, my mom wanted us to go around other kids with chicken pox. Like when somebody got infected, they'd bring you over there hoping you'd get it.
Really?
Yeah, because when you got it, then that meant that you weren't going to have it later in life, because that was a big scare that if you got it later, you were pretty much dead. That's a lie I bought into. If you get chicken pox as an adult, you're dead.
Oh, I know.
So
right?
You might as well get it when you're a kid. So let's take the kid over and get them completely, what's the word? You're not paying attention.
For what? I'm typing.
There that went. I lost my train of thought.
That happens. Yeah, I just think that people need to really do their research. People really need to look at this stuff and see if it's something that they're going to do. I don't think you should be browbeaten by your doctor into getting a vaccination if you don't want it.
Yep.
I
know. They make you feel bad.
They do their best.
They make you feel really bad.
Spread their fear.
Really bad and really fearful.
I was going to say to him during the show that he was talking about how school nurses can do a write-off on the child that doesn't want to have a vaccine, or the parent that doesn't want their child to have one. And I almost was going to say something like, well, that presupposes that this whole school thing that's only been around for 100 or so years is actually benefiting our society, because I think higher education, if it's especially specialized, is a good thing, because people are going to be learning how to be engineers and things. But
right.
A lot of this general education that we have, 5 and 10-year-old kids in, what's it?
Well,
I'm not sold on it.
You could have been getting yourself into hot water right there. But.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he.
No, you have an opinion. I'm sure he does too. But
yeah,
people don't like the whole. That's another thing that scares the heck out of people besides vaccinations is what do you call it? Unschooling?
Oh, unschooling.
Home birth. These are all things that people just freak out about.
They freak out about, yeah.
I'm going to post an Instagram picture right now of you, me, and Dr. B.
Nice.
Is that cool?
You, me, and Dr. B makes 3.
Just hanging with Dr. Bergman. Hey, follow us on Instagram, you guys. It's so fun. I retired from my job, almost a week ago tomorrow?
Yeah,
It'll be a week.
Tomorrow.
And I'm having so much fun with Instagram.
Are you?
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm going to be having a lot more fun, too, just with emails and also being more present on Facebook. But follow us on Instagram. I'm having a blast, and I'd love to connect with some of you guys. So.
That's awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
Connected on Instagram.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you guys would like to support our show, everything we have is free. There's over 358 episodes as of this recording, and they're all free. So please pass them on to your friends. That helps us, too. And if you would like to donate, we would greatly appreciate that. You can donate on the right-hand side of our site. It does help us tremendously to pay our bills, and we are taking a giant leap of faith here with Kate quitting her job. And
howdy.
No, it's the right thing to do.
Boy, howdy, as my mom would say.
Boy, howdy. And any support you guys can send our way would be so very much appreciated. So we'd appreciate that. And also we have a store as well with tons of great products like the Bellicon Rebounder that we just talked about, the sauna, the biomat, all kinds of really great things in our store. So make sure to check that out. Support us in any way you possibly can. We greatly appreciate that. And we're going to be back next Friday with not Dr., but Mark McAfee from Organic Pastures. We'll be talking about raw milk.
I'm interested in this.
Yes, that would be fun. All right, so that's about it, right?
Yeah, I think that's a wrap. That was a blast. That was the most fun I think I've ever had in the chat room. So thanks, everybody, and really look forward to next Friday. Join us again.
Nice. Awesome. All right, everybody, thank you so much.
And we will catch you on the next episode.
Hey, everybody, this is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
That's so good.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for listening to this episode.
It's time to go for now, but our mission does not end with this show.
Justin and Kate will be back with another interview packed full of ideas, discoveries, and unique ways to regain your health.
Head on over to extremehealthradio.com/subscribe and instantly download our free gift too that contains cutting-edge strategies to start making healthy lifestyle changes today.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself.